this is when it really gets weird. I put as a thumbnail someone who lives in Massachusetts who's going through this. There are other comments that I got from people in different states, and I'll keep trying to use their comments so that you can see it's not just happening to me. And part of me wants to know, why did they pick who they picked? At one point I said it was because we had certain skills or talents that they would need. And I still think that. But I also think that they at one point admitted that when they have people who live with a lot of people in the same place, they don't pick them, which makes sense because then everyone can't hear these voices. But I think they also pick people who have something that they want. So I said, not just the talent, but I think it's the real. When they were talking a while ago, they were trying to make me understand that they wanted me to develop lifelong friendships with them. And the strange part is that they don't really want me to have lifelong friendships with other people. So this was about isolating me and keeping me to themselves so they could take advantage. So one of them said it's sadistic, but I think it's more than just sadistic. I think it's about keeping, it's like a gang or a cult mindset, where if you can keep people in a group that you can keep not just control of, but keep contained, then who would believe them? At some point, it's to just discredit you, which is what I think it is. Because if you contain a group of people and there's no way away from the group, that controls itself. So it becomes where you don't have to really watch anyone as much, because they're all, it's like putting, people in a tight environment where they'll just end up controlling each other. And you get so caught up in fighting with one another that you don't see the bigger plan. The plan wasn't for you to ever get out of that mindset. It was never for you to be able, someone just used the word escape. It was never for you to be able to escape. It's because you end up keeping each other there. So when they talked about, this is about people who, want to get ahead in life, or people who become successful, you end up keeping yourselves unsuccessful. And in that way, the plan works. So if everyone is there, they're upset because they feel like my channel is more female. Well, that's part of this. This is, it's supposed to reflect my life, and it's really a female life. And they didn't want that. And I find that that's strange, because it seems like a lot of the people they involved are females. And when they start talking about the way they were trying to manipulate all of us to kind of hate each other, be jealous of one another, they talked about hair texture. So my hair texture for them isn't the right hair texture, because it doesn't fit the brand that they wanted it to fit. They said they wouldn't promote me as a black hair brand. They said, oh my, they don't want me to tell you guys this. Well, why are we doing this out loud then? Oh, that's why, because you are criminals and crooks who are using surveillance to steal my privacy, but you don't want me to have it. And that's part of it. They don't want me to have. So even the simple thing as my own supposed to have, I'm not supposed to have my own sense of self, my people who they can't control. So that's why that goes back to why they would want to put me with their people, because if I have moments, and again, like there's something in terms of those, you guys know I'm Gen X, and I keep talking about how it was different when I was growing up than it is now. When we were growing up, you didn't have a lot of things like we have now, where you had to have a certain this, or you had to have a certain that. But people around us made sure we had these special moments. And there was this little brand called Precious Moments. You guys remember that? Precious Moments. And it was about that. Like, they were even commercials. Everything about the world that I grew up in was about having special moments with people. But when you take that away, then what do you have then? You don't have that close time. You don't have that precious moment. You have just things happening to you, and you're being watched, and people are fighting and arguing. You don't have that. So when they're going over like the past, they're not talking about the good moments where you just had that that time. So what they're trying to do now is they said they are trying to write out and put together, like, I guess, a computer program of all the things that I've ever said and done in my life that they can think of. But you notice when I'm talking about it, and I've done this over the years with their stories, with how they speak, with their interpreting what they say, it's their interpretation of my special moments instead of them watching me and picking at things. And today they picked at something, I don't remember what they said happened to me during the time I was at Lacoste when they were watching me, is I stopped having the same, I guess, moments with reconnecting. So I'm just going to repeat that, which is the opposite customers. So they said I could tell when they were doing these fake interactions with me versus genuine customers. And even from the genuine customers, I got a lot of positive feedback that we did have those moments. And that's part of what I'm saying when they were picking on the fact that I couldn't come up with really big words. They said, well, maybe this was starting to happen. We know it was starting to happen. They know it too, because the voice outside, another thing that happened during this time that changed was the voices came through I call it a Walkman, but my cell phone radio. Like I had iTunes and I used to have music. All of a sudden I hear talking in the middle of a song. And I'm like, well, what is this? So something that they changed in terms of how they were doing it, that the talking was then my music is messed up. So at the time I'm walking, I was going to catch the express bus on 23rd Street. It's the first stop, and I missed it. So I was feeling horrible. My back was hurting. My legs felt like, I used to say my legs felt like jelly. It felt like, just like now when my legs go bad, I fall. My legs felt like that, but thankfully I wasn't falling. And this was back in 2017. And I'm walking down the street, and I'm walking up from 23rd Street. I'm trying to go to the next bus stop, which would have been 30, not past 34th, so it was at 35th or 36th Street maybe. And I'm walking, and I heard something say, again, that doesn't make me schizophrenic. We say it all the time. Something said, you're having a problem, meaning like my health was going. And I remember listening to my radio and saying, why the hell are they talking to me through this? And I just kept walking. And I felt like I'll just keep walking. I'll exercise more. I'll get healthier. And so as I was walking, and I heard them saying, you're having like a medical problem along those lines, they said it again. And that's when I realized something's wrong, something seriously wrong. Later on that year, I went to an occasion and I didn't drink, and I knocked over a glass. And the people at the table kind of looked at me, and I apologized. And that's when I knew something is definitely wrong. And so when they were saying, they tried to get these stories of when I was clumsy. I don't tend to be a clumsy person. I mean, I'm a human, but I'm not clumsy. I don't have my legs feel like jelly. I don't knock over glasses of water. Luckily, it was just water that I knocked over on a table. And then now to have this come this way, I feel like the years that they blamed me for saying, oh, you were being clumsy, or you did this wrong, or you did that wrong, were the years of my life when I was supposed to be able to deal with this. And they stole that from me. And when they say they can look at my eyes in my videos and see like I'm gone, there is a part of me that is gone. It's like they stole these moments, these precious moments in my life that I had before these people got involved in my life, where I just have these moments, not just with myself, with the people who care about me, with dealing with life. And they said they're surprised that this has never happened this way to me before this. Well, people who are involved didn't have the power to do it. So this was just not just an abuse of power, it was an abuse of privacy. It was surveillance. It was meant to, when it backfired and they put me out there, and it's like, why are you putting her out there? Like, who cares, you know? They didn't realize in doing that, they made me sick. And this is their way of shaming me into hiding instead of just putting the truth out there that they knew back in 2016. They knew definitely in 2016 that I was getting sick, but by 2017 they definitely knew, and they admitted it in the voices. So whoever does the voices knew that I was getting sick and that something was wrong, and they knew it, you know. And I think what happened is over time, the more they tried to hide me getting sick and what was causing it, that's the bigger part. What was causing this illness is the more they became nasty, and they just became so mean and hurtful. So that's the thumbnail I put up, that someone said, we'll never understand it. I'll never understand the types of people who could do this to other people. So thank you guys for listening. I'm going to go to sleep, and I'll be up soon.